Hello, and welcome to the Venue Success Podcast. I'm your host, Tirzah Caffee, and our theme in season 2 is tools of the trade, the pros behind the process. And we have none other than the amazing pro, Ian Ramirez, on the show with us today. He is the co-owner of Madera Estates and co-founder of the Venue Help Desk. So welcome to the show, Ian.
Hi, Tirzah. Hi, friends. Thanks for having me today.
Oh my gosh, I've been looking forward to this day for a while. It took us a hot second to connect our calendars, and we were just joking before we started that I just keep extending this season because there are so many incredible pros that I want to introduce the audience to. And you've heard me say this many times. I am not one that holds great information inside of me. Like, I really want our community to succeed. And so I love introducing you to other people that are also great, powerful influences in the venue space specifically. But Ian is one of my faves, and I'm so very excited to have you here today. Okay, we met a few months ago. I came and visited Madeira Estates, and I told him, I said, Ian, you're coming on the show, and by the way, like, you're going to share a story with us. And I don't even know what he's going to share. He shared one with me on the tour that had my jaw on the ground, and it takes a lot for that to happen to me. But I was like, you've got to share the crazy story. So without further ado, it's time for Crazy Stories with Ian, because people have lost their minds. So take it away, Ian. Tell us your crazy story.
Yes, I think this may have been the story that I shared with you when you came out to the venue.
Good.
However, I don't remember, but the craziest story that I've had at my time at Madera Estates, it was a beautiful spring wedding day, and we're setting up for the wedding. The wedding party is in the suites and enjoying their mimosa and beers as they get ready, and we have a package that's delivered to the venue. And it's addressed to the bride that's getting married that day. Now, we don't allow our clients to have mail or packages delivered to the venue. You know, maybe we have an accidental invitation that's returned to the venue, but a full-on package is not normal. And so what do? Well, we decide to open it before we decide to give it to the bride that day. And Tirzah, do you want to know what was inside that package?
This is not the story you told me. I have so many questions. No, what was inside?
What was inside the package was a written letter to the bride getting married that day with photos of the groom with the mistress. And the photos and the letter were sent by the mistress. And the letter basically told the bride that you shouldn't marry this guy. You shouldn't get married today. And Tirzah, do you know what we did?
You boxed it back up and did return to sender. I don't know. What did you do?
We boxed it up and we put it in storage. We filed it away. I still have it to this day. And we did not touch that with a 10-foot pole. We did not deliver it to the bride that day because I'm not about to deal with that on a wedding day.
No. Okay, so it's so interesting you say this. Did you see the comment in the Facebook group? I never know which one it was. Some venue group. And they were talking about someone that had contacted the venue saying they knew that the fiance was cheating. They're like, we don't know how to get in touch with this person, but we have evidence that this person is cheating. Like, what would you do? And this was just a few days ago. I was reading this.
Unbelievable.
And I was like, wow, like, it's a really great question to ask because I think the empath and that service-oriented, loving side of all of us that are in this industry want to protect that person.
Yeah.
But I am completely on your side with what you did because, I mean, you can't really... We don't also know that that's true either, right? So you might be the one blowing up their wedding day and it was just some crazy ex-girlfriend that wants to get back at this guy, right? Like, what would you do? Oh my gosh. That's
unbelievable.
Bonkers. But isn't that wild? All day long, you're like looking at the groom like, I know you're a cheater.
I know the truth. I know the truth behind you.
It's kind of sad. I've talked about this in the podcast before, like the people that you meet, and I know you could testify to this. You're like, oh yeah, you're not going to make it.
No.
You see the way they interact. We had a girl that was
Yes.
standing on top. This season one, I talked about this. A girl that was standing at the top of the stairs getting ready to process down the aisle, and she looked at my wedding planner and said, "Dang, divorce is so expensive."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like,
That's not gonna last.
that is not how you should feel when you're getting ready to walk down the aisle.
Nope.
It's
Not at all.
crazy. That
Oh
is
my gosh.
so sad. And what a burden of information for you guys at
Yeah.
Madeira to have that inside all day. So did your staff know, or did you keep it kind of on the down low? Like, how'd you
So
handle that?
we kept it on the down low. We did share it with the wedding coordinator that day. But other than that, we didn't tell anybody else because, like you
Yeah,
said, we didn't know how truthful this package was.
right.
But I mean, the evidence was very
Compelling.
conclusive and compelling. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, as you mentioned, as empaths, right, in the industry, wanting to be just good people, we're in the service
Exactly.
industry. We're here to serve people. And so,
Yes.
the inner me, the good Ian, the dove Ian,
Yes.
right? That's my
Yes.
spirit animal. Is
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
I want to tell her so badly to
I
not
know.
marry this guy." But then on the
Yes.
same side, it's like, from a business perspective, it's like, I don't want to be the one that's responsible for blowing all of this up, right?
Yeah.
And putting myself into the middle of a situation that I really have no involvement in. Right. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, we just decided we're going to file this away and we're going to save it for, a podcast story like this one.
You know, your mind plays fantasies. It's like you think like just going over to the groom suite that you guys have and just opening up the box to the groom, not the bride, and be like,
Yeah.
"So anyway, here's my wedding present to you. I'm putting this back in the box and putting it in
Yep.
storage."
Yep.
Like, I know what you did.
I
You
do,
can't.
you
You can't.
sneaky little fox.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing to me the amount, like, you want to think that that's so shocking, but the amount of people that are doing that, it's more than I think what any of us would want to
Oh,
believe
yeah.
is true. It's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Anyway, okay, let's not be sad on the Venue Success podcast. Let's not be
We'll
sad.
be happy.
But we just want to just believe that all of these wonderful unions that we are producing are going to
Yes.
end like happily ever after.
That's right. I'm going to remember the grand exit at the end of the night when they were, being dipped and getting in the getaway car and leaving. And that's my last memory I have of them.
Exactly. They'll never fight. They're going to be
Nope.
happy. They're going to have wonderful, beautiful babies, and just, everything's going to be great.
And flourish. That's right.
Okay, let's get into today's topic. I'm so excited to chat with you. Ian and I have ran in the same circles for many years, and we first met when I was moderating a panel for one of these online summits. I don't even remember which one. And I remember having this conversation and thinking, oh my gosh, I think I messaged you too. Like, I feel so
Yeah.
like-minded with you about just your perspective on specifically just honestly, the way that we run our venues and
Yeah.
just that high level of service that we are both extremely passionate about. Also having parents that own the venue that we kind of stepped in and took over. And that's not a super common thing for sure, but being kind of these legacy kids in the venue
Yeah.
space is a really cool, unique, wonderful, frustrating, annoying. Great. It's great. It's great.
All of the things, right? Working with your family is amazing. That's another podcast, right? We'll touch on that, working with family and spouses.
I have literally been thinking about it. And my family actually this past week kind of gently confronted me and they're like, why haven't you had any of us on the podcast? And I'm like, y'all are a loose cannon. I'm not really sure. But I probably need to have them. I probably need to have them on. They'd definitely be entertaining.
It'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
It's true. So we're going to talk kind of probably all over the place today, but
Yeah.
solely focused on leads. And because this is a really important part of, I believe, where venues are dropping the ball. And I love to be a observer in these venue communities because it's like I think a fair amount of people are able to get leads coming in. Everyone always wants more, right? But it's like you pay so much money whatever platform you're choosing to use, you're paying, investing, whatever, into getting these leads, and then we're dropping the ball
Yeah.
with what to do with them and how to convert them and how to treat them and how to really nurture them. That's one of my favorite ways to think of this, like nurture that relationship till you get it
Yeah.
to the point of them signing on the dotted line. So,
Yeah.
so my kind of opening question for you is like, what is the first thing a venue should consider when they're qualifying a new lead?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because for me, I think, as you mentioned, Tirzah, a lot of venues drop the ball, particularly on
Mm-hmm.
this part of the process. They're like,
Yes.
well, if I can just get
Yes.
them to the venue, right, I'm going to be able to
It'll
close
sell
them.
itself.
Right, it'll sell
Mm-hmm.
itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I challenge, venues and the venues that we work with and anybody listening today to really consider yourself not just a salesperson, but the good steward, the trusted helper and guide, right, of these couples that oftentimes are planning a wedding for the first time. And so
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I tell venues to consider when they are, starting the qualification process of a lead or they start communicating with a lead is really asking yourself, how well did I educate this couple prior to
Mm-hmm.
them inquiring? And this is one step further than just transparent pricing, which I'm sure
Uh-huh.
you've talked about already on the
Uh-huh.
podcast. And it's not something that I want to belabor too much. If you're not transparent with your pricing, be transparent with your pricing.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
I think it's how else are we educating our couples? And is that on social media, right? Your social media now, Instagram and TikTok, is not just a
Uh-huh.
place for pretty pictures anymore. Are you
Yep.
including average wedding costs, right? Are you showing images along with pricing information about what a floral arrangement costs, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think as venue owners, there's a little bit of a resistance to educating couples, particularly Gen Z and millennials. And they think, oh, well, they should just know what a wedding costs or their parents should know what a wedding costs. Well, dun, dun, dun. The truth is they don't. Again, beyond just posting your pricing on your website, I think we have to do a better job of educating our couples. I mean,
Uh-huh.
we have couples now. This is a thing, fear mongering right here. TikTok. I have couples now recording their venue tour and posting it on TikTok and sharing our pricing, right? Which is a good thing, right? Because we're
Wow.
transparent. But that's
Yeah.
what's happening with these couples, right? Because they're not being able to figure out what things cost and they're TikToking their experience.
Unbelievable.
And so I think it's really important for us to assume that role as trusted helper, right? We're going to be their
Uh-huh.
fairy godmother to their Cinderella. We're going to be their Yoda to their Luke because they're in this galaxy of wedding
Uh-huh.
planning for the first
Uh-huh.
time and it's overwhelming,
And
right?
overwhelmed.
They don't know
Exactly.
where to start. And so I think that's really the first thing to push pause on is to say, how well have I set up this couple? Right, for
Uh-huh.
success, this lead that's reaching out to us. The
Uh-huh.
second is really we have to be more strategic now than more than ever.
Yes.
There's a lot of competition. There's
Uh-huh.
a lot of undercutting when it comes to pricing. And
Yep.
so how else can we give ourselves a leg up right when we're getting that lead? And for me, it's really understanding and identifying where they're at in the process.
Uh-huh.
Because if I know a lead is not even engaged yet, right, before they inquire at my venue, okay, I'm gonna have to educate them a lot more, right?
Yep.
Or if they've been engaged for a week, I'm going to have to educate them a lot more than maybe a couple that has been engaged for 4 or 5 months,
Right.
right? Now, that's not saying in the perfect world, maybe a couple in a week has done some education, right? They've done their
Uh-huh.
research.
Uh-huh.
So, what are ways that we can give ourselves a leg up? And so, on your inquiry form, asking a simple question like, where are you at in the venue selection process?
Uh-huh.
Maybe it's a
Uh-huh.
drop down and it's newly engaged or not even engaged
Yes.
yet,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
touring venues and haven't found what I've been looking
Uh-huh.
for yet, right?
Uh-huh.
Or your venue's at the top of my list. So I
Yep.
understand how to cater my response to them. And so
Uh-huh.
for me, that's really the two main places to start. When I even
I love it.
start looking at the qualification process and communicating with leads, those two elements. How well have I done at
Right.
educating my couples? Because really, we need to take control of that.
Yes.
We can't just assume that the couple's going to do it. And then number two,
Yeah.
identifying where they're at in the decision
In the
process, I think
process.
really gives you a
Mm-hmm.
big leg up.
And I like that you said asking them kind of where they are. In our inquiry form, we had, and I was hesitant when we added this, but everyone filled it out. I mean, 98% of people filled it out. It said,
Yeah.
how many tours, how many venues have you visited, and
Yeah.
which ones have you visited? Because I was like, should I even ask that? Are they going to want to tell?
Yeah.
literally 98% of the time, and I could see the venues that they went to, and it was so informative for me. I never brought up their name again, but I
Yeah.
know them all, right? Of course, you should know your market like the back of your hand. You should know
Yeah.
if they've gone to see the venue that is 3 miles up from you, what their experience was like, what the pricing was, all that kind of stuff. So it really helped me when you talk about educating them. It helped me educate them on, and again, not saying, hey, comparing us to this one. It's like I knew
Yeah.
the things to hit on in the educational
Right.
conversation too. So
And
I love that.
if they list venues, that are a similar price point, it's like, okay, they are maybe more
Uh-huh.
qualified than someone that's looking at venues that are way less than my price point.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
how can we
Yes.
strategically give ourselves a leg up? And the truth is we have to start thinking like that. Different
Uh-huh.
markets across the country we hear, and I know Tirzah, you hear this
Yeah.
too,
Yes.
right?
All the
Venue
time.
owners, it's so much harder to get leads to
Uh-huh.
not only respond, but there's so much more competition, right? And so
Uh-huh.
we really have to invest, right,
Uh-huh.
in our strategies, and we have to think a little bit harder than we did before.
Absolutely. And it is strategy, it's deep strategy. And
Yeah.
in some markets, it is different. There are still those few pocket of people that have, they are in a town that there's not a lot of venues and everyone comes to them. I mean, bless your heart, like enjoy. It won't stay that
Yes.
way for long. But you mentioned transparency.
Yeah.
And again, this is a soapbox we could sit on for a long time. And I don't love the word because I think that it's like saying all inclusive. It means different
Yes.
things. What does transparency mean to you? It might be something different than it is to me, right? To me, transparency is I want to be able to get them the information that they need, but
Yeah.
I want a little bit of something first. And
Yeah.
so, and I know we share this passion, but like true marketing, it's hard to market to someone also if you just put everything out there because they don't read, right? So we're wanting to
Yeah.
educate them, but you can't
Hmm.
hand them the whole Bible of information, right? Like
Right.
that you have to spoon feed it to them a little bit.
Yeah.
So along that line, and let me just say, what I'm referring to here is that I don't put all of our pricing on our website. I put a
Yeah.
range and then say, hey, by the way, give me your information and I'll send you a pricing guide. It's never
Yeah.
stopped or slowed down my lead generation. People will fight with me over that. I don't care. Just let my bank account talk to your bank account and it's fine. But
Yeah.
so how do you balance not scaring couples away, right? Because that's what a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to, I want to hold it tightly, right? So how do
Yeah.
you balance not scaring couples away with clear pricing and balancing that with what they're actually going to spend, right? Because that is transparent. You need to let
Yeah.
people know. You don't want to
Yeah.
be that slimy venue that is like throwing your service fees on them the week before their wedding, right?
Right. Right.
So how do you handle that, Madeira?
I think, first of all, we're definitely on the same page. A lot of what Tirzah teaches and a lot of what Tirzah shares on the podcast, we are of the same ilk, as you would say. I think transparency, as you said, I think it's thrown around a lot, and people maybe have this misconception that I need to put everything out there, that someone's going to be able to go to my website and be able to do a drop down and figure out exactly to the bottom dollar with tax what things are going to cost. But as we've already shared, and as I've already shared, couples don't know what things cost, right?
Exactly.
So if you were to do that, they don't understand the value of what they're getting. They're just then shopping off a price. And we don't want to ever put ourselves into that position. When we started our venue 13 years ago, yeah, for sure, we didn't put pricing on our website because we had this old school mindset, right? I grew up, my stepfather was in land development and real estate and in sales, and it was like, no, if they want it, they're going to come. Right? Which some venue owners today still have that same mindset, right? And we know that doesn't fly today, especially with the current generations. And so now today, for me, transparency really is about at least giving them some sort of range, Tirzah, like you shared, to give them a baseline expectation of where they could land. I mean, let's face it, most couples go over budget. Right. I think recent statistics say most couples like 70% of couples go over budget by at least $7,000.
Yes.
When they're just newly engaged, they have no idea what their final budget is. And even if you ask them what their total wedding budget is, well, they don't really know. Right.
Yes.
And maybe they're just picking $20,000 because it's a credit card limit. Right. Maybe it's $20,000 because that's what their parents are giving them. So they truthfully don't know what their money is going to buy them. And so for me, I think transparency really is giving that little crumb of this is what you can expect to spend with us. This is what most of our
Uh-huh.
couples are spending with us. And after that, really, we want to, they have to give something to get something. And I know we've talked
Exactly.
about this at length
Yes,
in terms
yes,
of the
yes,
pricing guide strategy, the lead magnet
yes.
strategy.
Hmm.
Because if you did put everything out there, let's say you were like, I'm going to be 100% transparent, you're probably actually going to lose some leads too, right? While you can make
Hmm.
the case of transparency and transparent pricing is going to bring you leads, I think you still want to be able to capture their information and then be able to continue to educate them. Because how else
Hmm.
can I educate them if they're only landing on my website once and then bouncing
Hmm.
and leaving and going somewhere else?
And
And
yep.
so, for those of you that are listening today to the podcast, if you don't implement a pricing guide strategy, it's a really great strategy for you to actually get more leads because couples are going to be interested. You kind of tease them a little bit with the range, and then they download that guide to learn a little more about your venue, because
Absolutely.
then there you have a great opportunity to continue to showcase your value, right? It's not
Hmm.
just about the bottom number. And for me, we have found that to be very lucrative. I think we implemented our
Absolutely.
pricing guide probably, I want to say either right before the pandemic or like right after the pandemic
Same.
happened in
We did it around
2020.
the same time.
Yeah. And it really has become a game changer for us.
Oh, yes.
And I could go into a whole follow-up strategy in terms of, we know couples are researching longer, right? They're taking longer to make their decisions and putting them into drip campaigns or lead nurture campaigns. I
Yes.
just had a couple reach back out. They inquired a year ago after
Yes.
downloading our pricing guide,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they had received multiple emails from us over the 12-month period, right? And we stayed top of mind.
Hmm.
So, kind of bringing it back home to this concept of pricing, I think really that level of transparency, we're not telling you to put everything out there, right?
Hmm.
Because even if you put all-inclusive packages on there, well, they don't know, right? They don't know what that is. And so just giving them a little bit of information and then piquing their interest and getting that email address is number
Hmm.
one.
Yeah. And I think too, like there is an argument, and I would concede to this a little bit, that if you are a venue only space and you are booked out like crazy, you've got leads coming in and you don't need that. Also, I think you're a little bit of a unicorn if that's your situation. But some people have
Yeah.
said that to me, like they even put their availability on their
Ooh,
website. And I'm just like, listen, that one makes my brain explode. But I'm like,
yes.
we're not saying like every venue is going to need to operate the same. And that's why,
Right.
but there are some fundamental principles about being strategically transparent. And that's what I tell people it is. You're still
Yeah.
being transparent, but you are being a smart marketer. Like if you've
Yeah.
ever been in any marketing class or read any marketing book at all, like you need to be able to get into that relationship with them as quickly as possible. Any pop-up that comes on your computer when you go buy something and they're like, you want 25% off, give us your phone number and email,
Oh,
we
yeah.
all do it.
Just happened to us. Halloween is dropping at Home Depot. It's like, sign up to be
Exactly.
notified.
Yes, of course I'll sign up. Send it all on. But anyway,
Yes.
this is not a podcast about automation, but we really honestly probably could. And I will tell you that you will save also so much time because
Yeah.
time is money. Being able to put these people into an automation, and listen, old school people that think that automation is not personal, that's not the case anymore. This
No,
generation expects instant gratification,
absolutely.
and they honestly don't care if it's a computer. They really don't. Like
No, they just want the information. They're
they just
looking for the
want it.
information.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, we could soapbox on that, but we got to keep going on. So, all right, here's another question for you. So, what are some of those early we've all seen this, right? Like those red
Yeah.
flags, green flags that help you know that a lead is actually worth pursuing?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's some obvious ones. If a lead is looking out, we're getting inquiries for 2028,
Yes.
2029,
My
right?
gosh.
And that's not to say that we're going to ignore them. Again, this isn't a podcast about automation. Drop them into some sort of nurture campaign and let them get emails. But I'm not going to put too much energy into that because
Exactly.
I know my booking calendar, we haven't opened it that far yet.
Exactly.
And, I have some couples. I had one the other day that they were really pressing me because they're in medical school and they're like, we really want to find our venue before we graduate medical school. And I was like, okay. I was like, I understand that. But at the same time, our pricing could be different, right? I
Uh-huh.
just don't, I want to respect your time as much as I don't want to
Uh-huh.
waste my time.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that would be one of the most common ones is the date that they're looking at. Level of communication, I think their responses, how long or short are the responses to you when they're
Yes.
communicating?
Yes.
Now, this could vary depending on what your method of communication is. Dara, I would say about 85% and 90% of our lead correspondence before they book the tour is via text message. So, the responses have shortened a little bit over the years. But even in email, if their email responses are only like yes, no, they're not really committed to the process. They're not really engaged. I think that usually for me is a little bit of a red flag. And then
Right.
green flags, of course, if they're looking at a date that's, off peak, it's within a short time period, right? They're wanting to look within 90 days, 4 months,
Bring it.
whatever that is. Let's go. Come on, we'll get you in. I've got a special just for you. Tirzah, I'm curious, what are some red flags for you when you were at the venue?
Yeah, I think this could be controversial, but when I'm only communicating with the bride's mom,
Mm,
because
yeah,
we found that there was a fair amount of people that were just kicking tires, and the bride had never even seen the venue or wasn't interested in it. And so the
yeah,
mom wanted to come tour before she brought the bride. And we
yeah,
tried it for a while because I'm like, well, let's see if this is a working strategy. Like I would say 9 times out of 10, it didn't work out well. And then we ended up giving 2 tours. And that's,
yeah,
as you know, because you guys do very extensive tours as well,
yeah.
you just wasted
Wasted
so
so
much
many hours of
time.
your time.
Right. And I
Yes.
know my hourly rate, like I calculated it once. So I'm just like, well, you just wasted me $500 because I know
Yep.
my hourly rate. So it's just the moms, I think, were kind of a big one. I think I never really got turned off by people that went straight for the price question, because what I
Yeah.
learned early on is that they don't know what else to ask. And it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that it's a red flag that that's the first question. They don't know what else. But
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's in general, I think it was just the moms and not wanting to waste time. And there is a big influx of moms being really involved now. So what we did,
Yes.
instead of telling them no, we were like, listen, we understand that they're in medical school. We understand that
Yep.
they're a teacher and their time is, challenging, but we really want them to be involved in the process from the very beginning. And
Yep.
so we just asked them to have the bride at least one time reach out to us so that we know she's actually okay with our venue.
Yeah, the
Because
style. Because like,
exactly,
what if the style doesn't even match what she wants? And half the
it
time,
happens
Tears, like you
so
said,
often.
it happens to us too, right? If you get
Yes.
if you get that mom that's coming in or the sister, right? And it's like, why are you doing this? That means to me that they don't care enough about it, even if they're busy, right? Even if you're in
Yes.
medical school, if this is a priority to you, you would actually make the time to do it, right? And so
Yes.
we found that relationship too with the mom oftentimes is that she is wanting something more or something different
Yes.
than what the couple wants or the bride, whatever their child wants.
Yes. And especially with us being a historic venue, a lot of the older, garb, like they really like the old school historic,
Yep.
Victorian house, where like this younger generation is like, I don't want a barn. I don't want an old house. I don't want
Yes.
any of that stuff. And so then they come in and then it's a really uncomfortable tour experience because the bride is pissed off, because she's like, my mom dragged me here. I do not
Yeah,
want
this is not what
this.
I want.
And I'm just here to like do my duty as a daughter, but there's no way, and you know what, that I'm getting married here. And then we're having to like fake a tour. And we
Yep,
know that it's not going to, anyway, those are probably our number one most frustrating situations in terms of like
for sure.
red flags. That it's like, how you don't also want to say to every mother, like, we're not going to interact with you. It's definitely a fine balance
Yes,
for
very much
sure.
so, right? You want to
Yeah,
win her onto your side too, because they're
exactly.
oftentimes that decision maker, whether they're financing it or, they're helping that
100%.
final decision. So very, very
Yeah.
important.
Yes, yeah. I think a red flag for us too are people that I think it was Paul and I, or maybe it was you, I can't remember. We talked about kids coming on tours and like how
Yes.
difficult it is to close a wedding when close a sale, right? Like when they have a kid on their hip and one in a stroller, and you're like trying to
Yeah.
like anyway. So if
Well, it's
someone
so
is not
true.
willing to like get a babysitter to come do a tour with us, like that is kind of a red flag for
Yeah.
us. We've done it before, and we've sold weddings with people with their kids destroying our sales room. You do it, but it's not
Yeah.
ideal.
No, but and that's definitely something that we have implemented here because, if even the best behaved, or you're telling me your best behaved 2-year-old is going to behave for 2 hours. Our tours are almost 2 hours, sometimes over 2 hours at Madera Estates. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not conducive. It's not a great experience. You're going to be distracted as the client or the
Yes,
parent,
yes,
right?
yes.
And so we really want to set everybody up for success through that time
Mm-hmm.
period.
Yeah,
And if they're not able to make arrangements to find a babysitter, then maybe it's not
mm-hmm.
the right time for you to schedule a tour. Maybe this date isn't the right time.
Exactly.
And I think one thing that I want to share with a lot of venue owners that are listening today, I think, Tirzah, you had gotten to a point where you were confident, right, in being able to communicate this to your leads and your tours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we feel the same. There may be an upfront hesitation to, you know, strict is the wrong word, but hesitation to
Boundaries.
lay boundary, right, lay that
Mm-hmm.
boundary down.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you it's only going to help you in the long run, right?
Absolutely.
This example that Tirzah mentioned with moms being respectful and telling them, hey, like, I really want the buy-in of your child. I want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
this is matches their vision. And the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with the children on tours, right? We have to set that boundary and
Yes.
you have to be okay with it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I saw it yesterday. I don't know. I bring up Facebook groups all the time. I need to stop it, but it is like it's like this breeding ground of wanting to keep a pulse and like where people are at. And
Yeah. How are
again,
they feeling?
I often cannot respond because it's like not, I want to say things I shouldn't say. But there was someone the other day that was like, oh, they were asking yesterday, what's your close rate at tours, right? So think
Mhm.
about this. Think about if we were always letting the moms in without the zero close rate. Like,
Yeah.
it's a zero
I
close
saw
rate. You're
that
getting ready
post.
to
I
do,
saw that
yes.
post.
I'll tell you what, okay, I have a 100% close rate. Did you see what I said?
And I
I
haven't
was
read it. I
like,
didn't read that far.
I was like,
Tell me what you say.
sounds like you need to raise your prices.
Yes, yes.
But that's the problem. Like if you have a 100% close rate, that means there's like resistance is not bad, people. Listen to
Right.
me. Resistance is not bad. Like you need to have
It's
some.
normal.
It's
It's
normal.
a part of the process.
And, and it's also part of figuring out who's your ideal client, right? Like if you're just
Yes.
letting I just soapbox so hard, but if you're just like letting anybody in, you don't even know who your ideal client is. And I guarantee your
Right.
pricing structure is not right if you're selling 100%.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you
So
say that because that was our mindset when we first started. It was just like, get everybody in, right? Let's get them in here.
common
And
at the beginning.
right, right at the very beginning, right? 13 years ago, my parents were like, just get them in here. Let's use land sales, tactics to get people sold. And, back then we were like, oh yeah, 20% close rate. That was, we thought that was good. And now, we're closer to 50%, sometimes 60%. And I think you're right. As venue owners continue to better their practices, whether it's in the lead conversion process to booking tours
Uh-huh.
or even from the tour to the closed wedding, right, to the sale, there's going to be a normal amount of attrition. There's going to be a normal amount of people that
Absolutely.
are giving you resistance that aren't the right fit. And the truth is, I would much rather, now looking back, I'm so much happier that we host fewer tours than we did before, but our close rate is so much higher. So we're actually saving our time. You just mentioned your hourly rate is $500, right? So like
250. A
okay,
2 hour tour, yeah.
2 hour tour, right? However, whatever your hourly rate, right? But so yeah, 250. But your time is precious,
Exactly.
and so you want to make sure that you're bringing in those leads that really match your ideal
Uh-huh.
client and understanding who your ideal client is. And I think a lot of people get wrapped up in qualification about it just being about the finances, right? It's just about the bottom dollar, but there's so much more that goes into qualifying a lead, not just before they come in for the tour, but even at the tour, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
that could be a whole other soapbox that we can get on
Well,
too.
let's just lean into that a tiny bit. So, like, one of the things that I want to talk about is like, how does a strong lead qualification actually help you get more bookings and not fewer? So, some
Yeah.
people might have that misconception. What's your thought about that?
Well, my concept is that the stronger your lead qualification process is, the higher that your conversion rate should be, right? Because you're bringing in leads that are more qualified, right? You're sitting down with the decision makers, right? And your qualifying process could be even a part of, let's say you get to the booking a tour form on your website and you have a little field form that asks, who all's coming with you, so we can prepare for them. At Madera,
Yes,
we say
yes,
we're prepping you a homemade glass of sangria. We need to know, or, beverage of
yes.
choice. We want to make sure we have enough for
Hmm.
everybody.
Hmm.
And then the follow up to that is, we always like to invite anybody that's, helping you in your decision process, any decision makers. And so it's funny, we had a tour this past weekend that we closed. And prior to the appointment, there were like 5 people are coming. And we typically max it out at 6.
Uh-huh.
And the question that we have on there, just because once you get over 6, we all know it can
Oh
be
my gosh.
a
Yes.
lot, right?
Yes.
And so we had this tour show up and they told us 5, which was fine. And then they show up and there's 8 people,
Oh
right?
my
And
goodness.
of course, I'm not going to like
Send
make
them
a scene,
away.
right?
Yeah.
Like only 6 people can be here. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we weren't expecting you. And the bride said, well, you said bring all the decision makers. Yeah, she was 20 something. I mean, she was probably 21. They were babies. They were babies. And she didn't mean it like rudely or anything.
Yeah.
She was so excited. And so anyway, they were there. The grandmas had to be a part of it. That's why the 2 extra people had come. I know. I wasn't going to say no to grandma because you better
When
believe I
I
gave
got
her a glass
married,
of
it was
sangria.
only $500.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But anyway, I think that is a big part of the qualification process
Yeah.
too,
Yeah.
right? And so figuring out that it's just it's more than just the finances. Finances, of course, are a great
Yes.
foundation, right, to get them in the door and to understand like, well, can they even afford it? But there's so much more to qualification. So for me, that really is what's going to help you bring in more leads. So
Yes.
the lead magnet strategy, like we talked about with the pricing guide, being able to attract more leads, and then even through the tour booking process, being able to have that stronger qualification. Our field form actually, from the lead magnet to the tour form, we actually ask a lot more questions
Yes.
once it gets to the booking a tour, right?
Yes.
Because in that initial download or pricing guide request, we want, little barrier to entry, little friction, 7 field forms I think we have on ours versus the tour one has a bunch more. Right. And that's your opportunity really to get a little more information
Yes.
to help you
Yes.
set the tour up for success. And I know you probably feel the same way.
100%. I could, ditto on everything you just said. I want to quickly hit on something that I've heard you talk about before, and I'm sure listeners maybe have or have not heard you speak or whatever, but can you just really quickly, I know we're running short on time here, but can you explain what price anchoring is and how venues can use this to help leads make a more informed decision? Because we've talked a lot about this educational process that it is for people. I'm also a big believer that it's emotional connection, and there's so much more that goes into that, especially with this generation. But talk about price anchoring.
Yeah, so it's really a sales strategy that you are giving the perception of value for a couple by giving them a reference point, right? So for example, like if in my lead magnet and my pricing guide, I share average costs of a wedding in Houston. And let's just say it's $40,000, right? And then after they read that page and they say, well, there's so many different things that could go into your wedding day to make it fun and make it yours. And then they get into my pricing that says the average couple at Madera Estates is going to spend anywhere between, let's say, 25 and 45,000. Well, now I've already shown a higher number, right? That's the anchor, right? And then they're seeing, oh, well, packages I could get in at Madera for 25,000, right? So there's a perceived value in that lower number that you're presenting to them. And that's not just a strategy you can use in your lead magnet. You can use it on your website and a blog post. You can even use it during tours, right? When you're getting to the point, if you're building proposals on the spot. I know there's different listeners today, but if you're all inclusive or you have semi-inclusive packages, I think that's a really great way to give you that perceived value for your couples. And so what I like to do, even when it gets to the tour process, is in the first few minutes that I'm getting to know the couple, I always want to make sure, and we actually send this as a part of the top tips to prep for your tour, is to make sure that you and your partner have actually talked about finances. I know it's a weird thing to say, but I can't tell you how many tours in the past where we had one of the couple only doing all the research, and then all of a sudden they get here and we've got a groom that's like leaning back, deer in the headlights, because they didn't communicate. Right. And listeners today may be thinking, well, I don't, how can people not do that? They don't do it.
They don't.
There's a lot of couples that
Yes.
don't communicate. So we do that beforehand. And then in the beginning of the tour, we rip off that Band-Aid, right? And as we talk about what we're going to do today, we're managing their expectation.
Yes.
We're going to say at the end of the tour, we're going to talk about, what the
Uh-huh.
investment of your wedding would be. And I ask them, is there a budget that I can be respectful of? They give me that number. Usually it's in line with what we've already taught them and
Uh-huh.
educated them on.
Uh-huh.
And, based on what they've filled out for us, the number of guests, the services that they're expecting, and the date, I'll give them another range. And usually I put the range a little bit on the higher end at the very
Yes.
beginning of the tour. So then
Yes.
when I come back at the end of the tour and I put their proposal together, I usually will bring out two proposals, one that is kind of like that higher one, and then one that is a little bit lower,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And so immediately
Uh-huh.
they're drawn oftentimes to the lower proposal because it's that price anchor. So they saw earlier in the tour, they heard early
Uh-huh.
in the tour what the
Uh-huh.
price could be, and then they
Uh-huh.
saw a higher number on one of the proposals. And so price anchoring for me is a really strong tactic that you can use. It is, for those of you that are wanting to employ it multiple times throughout the sales process, you need to practice it, right? It's something that
Yes.
is
Yes.
not doesn't naturally roll off the tongue. And so if you're looking
Yes.
to level up your qualification process, I think price anchoring is a really, really smart tool to use.
And this is not venue ownership 101. This is like a
No,
301 level strategy, just so you know. Like, this is something that Ian and I could to do after decades of doing this. But it can be taught early on. And I really, again, like, let me just land this plane a little bit just in terms of like why I'm having so many venue educators here. There's so many of you as listeners, and a lot of our listeners are kind of in that 0 to 5 years, point. And this is so overwhelming to you. And I just can't beat this drum enough. Like, how would you know what price anchoring is? How would you know this strategy if you've been in hospitality your whole life and you're just a worker bee and like you haven't gone to school for sales? I haven't either. I mean, I have an education degree. Like, I don't know if you went to marketing school or have a degree in sales, Ian. Okay, right.
nope.
I know you were an opera singer for the first
Yes,
portion of your life. So
I
did we
was.
learn these strategies in opera and in education and classical piano? Like,
Definitely not.
heck no. Like, we had to be a student of our culture. We had to be a student of like understanding the deeper psychology, just that deeper level of understanding on how sales work. And it's so fascinating to me. And I just want to challenge you as listeners that be a student. I mean, and again, listening to this podcast is part of that. So kudos if you've gotten 42 minutes into this episode and you're still listening, because this is honestly, some of these strategies can change your business completely by understanding that, like, not just showing them one proposal and showing them two, and the higher one is to scare them maybe a little bit, and the lower one is actually what you wanted all along, right?
Yep.
So there is such great strategy all throughout this process. So this is so very great, Ian. I mean, I've really loved this conversation, and we could go on and on. We both have appointments we have to get to, but
Yes.
I want to make sure that listeners can hear about the Venue Help Desk. So Venue Help Desk has been around for now, let's see, in November to be 2 years, right?
Yeah. Hard to
Yeah.
believe. Going on 3 years,
Wow.
actually. Yeah,
Three.
wild.
My
No,
gosh.
no. It is 2 years. Sorry, 2023. It is 2 years.
Yes, because I remember like we were doing some similar things at the same time. So, and I am so grateful for this community, because now more than ever, I mean, I've been doing this since the Stone Ages. Anyone that knows me knows I've been doing this since I was sucking my thumb. So there's so many great educators out there right now. You have no excuse. You have no excuse to not go find someone that fits your vibe, right? Like, I'm not the right vibe for everyone. Ian's not the right vibe for everyone, but there's so many of us out there educating now. Be careful who you get your education from, right? It shouldn't all come from Facebook groups that you don't know who's
Yes.
the person on the other side giving you that wonderful advice.
Anonymous member.
Anonymous 1.25. Like,
I
I don't know who you are, but bad. So anyway, Ian, tell us a little bit about the Venue Help Desk, how you are showing up and serving the venue community, and how, if people are interested in what you're doing, how they could be in touch with you.
Yeah. So as Tirzah mentioned, I'm just passionate about serving others and helping other venue owners and sales operators. Venue Help Desk was really born out of my and our business partner, Shannon Tarrant, and my husband, Paul Petty, who Tirzah referenced earlier on the episode. It was really born out of our passion for serving other people. And so we just found a need for helping venue owners maximize their experience at their venue. So Venue Help Desk really is a go-to resource for venue owners. We have tools and templates to help you save time. We have an online shop on our website, and we have on-demand learning, online courses, and it's really a great way for you to kind of jumpstart your business, especially if, as Tirzah mentioned, if you're in business year 0 through 5. A lot of tools of the trade that I have learned over the past almost 10 years in working in the venue space. And as Tirzah mentioned, it's not something oftentimes that you can learn from, a sales or marketing degree. It's just the school of hard knocks. It's living it, breathing it, eating it, and educating yourself. You see a bunch of books on my bookshelf behind me if you're watching the video replay of this podcast. But no, if you are interested in, getting any of our tools and tips, if you're wanting to learn more about lead magnets, reviews, any of that, the lead conversion process, we have online courses. So visit us over at www.venuehelpdesk.com, or you can visit us on Instagram at venuehelpdesk.
Awesome. And we will definitely link all of your handles, your website, your Instagram, all of that fun stuff. Definitely go follow Madeira Estates. We will put that in the show notes as well. I just ooh and ah over your social media, girl. Like, she's so great. I have told you that so many times. I'm just like,
I'll give a shout out to my
God.
cousin Emily. If you listen to this podcast, shout out to you.
I've told Ian, I'm like, is Emily available for other venues? No, she's just Ian's. Leave her alone. But she does such a great job. I love it.
Thank you. She's available. I've sent her a few venues.
Is she? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'll share her. She'd be happy to help.
At the very least, go look at their social media, because it is one of your best marketing tools, right? I do believe you need to have a stellar website. It needs to be great, but like, your social media is such a great marketing tool, and Ian does that so phenomenally well. And I say you because you wouldn't have let her continue if she wasn't doing a good job. So you get some snaps too.
For sure.
And you have an eye for it. So
yes. Well, thank you. And I'm a firm believer in who, not how, right? Who are the people that are going to be able to reach my goals, right? Whether if you are looking for a venue coach like Tirzah, if you need resources like us over Venue Help Desk, social media help, I am a firm believer in reaching out to people to help you, because I can guarantee you, if you reach out for help and you use that word help, who's going to say no to you?
Right. No, it's absolutely true. And I think our venue space specifically, now, wedding planners and DJs and some people have a little bit of a different vibe, maybe sometimes. But wedding venues, I really think, have such a great, kind-hearted desire for everyone to win. And I'm really grateful for that. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that a lot of us as educators have set that tone of really being hospitable and generous with our knowledge. And I think that's a really special thing. So I'm grateful for you, Ian. Thank you for being on and just sharing some of your incredible knowledge with our listeners. It's a really great blessing. So for those of you listening, thank you so much again for tuning in. Thank you for being just such loyal listeners, and it humbles me all of the time to get messages from you. Someone told me this week, Tirzah, I've listened to every single episode. And I'm like, dude, that's more than anyone in my family. So if you're listening today, thank you so much. But a lot of people, I know that this resource has been pivotal for you, if not just for feeling seen and feeling like, oh my gosh, there's other people out there that get it. So thank you for listening today. We will see you next time on the Venue Success Podcast. Thank you, Ian.